Hello everyone, welcome to the 2019 Demanking. I am really looking forward to doing this one today, as I have maintained for many years now. This is the 8th season of Demankings. I benefit from this session as much as you do because I am also part of the collective consciousness, so I am very keenly ready to listen to what comes out for us this year. So it's very exciting to be able to bring this concept to you. And I know 2019 is a catalyst year. There will be a day where you will look back and you'll be able to go, oh yeah, that's the year that. And you will recognize as the years go by, as we go into the 2020s, those moments or those things that happened this year that help to go and take you on the next path, or the path for the next decade at the very minimum. But I know we are now looking at opening the door in the energy for the next 20 and then to 37 years. That's the doorway we're in now. So that the most important thing for us is to release all our own old stories. You know, we can't be hard on ourselves because we have done the best we could with what we had over the last 10 years, 18 years, 20 years, 37 years. They have been the years that have shown up the most as the pattern bearers for all the work that we've done this year. And especially if you would think back how old you were 37 years ago, that's nearly 4 decades of experience that you can bring to the table now, that you are going to be able to turn into innate wisdom. One of the key things of our personal power going forward into 2020 is to release the old stories of, well, way back when. And I have a great story that I will just briefly share with you. I have had a new friendship show up in my life very recently, so in the last 4 to 5 weeks. And so excited about that relationship that it has been born and where it's going to go. There's a lot of similarities. It's all very new, and it's a girlfriend relationship. Something that I decided to step away from because of quite a lot of pain associated to very big, heavy losses in girlfriend relationships. And the most exciting part, and this is pretty much a sum up of what 2019 may have brought you, there will have been things that showed up for you, and in an instant heartbeat or an instant moment you would have felt so on path, elated. Wow, this is amazing. Perhaps if you see pictures or anything, hear things in your head, you would have heard what this thing is or what it means or anything like that. So you sit there and it's like, yeah, this is that instant feeling that you get when something is in your highest and greatest good. And this depends on where you have been at this year, how much you've let your old story come in to try and talk you out of how fabulous that new feeling is. And with this relationship, that's what I had with this new relationship. And I had twice where my brain went to say, I hope this isn't like, and I just shut it down. I'm like, no, I'm better, wiser. I've paid my karmic debt. That is another big thing as a theme for 2019, is a lot of karmic debt has been paid. Part of the teachings with my online group has been to get you to recognize where you can hand karmic debt back to others because of that stupid old, which had its place at its time, law of attraction teaching of you're attracting all of this into your life. So that's another thing that if you've not heard me speak about this concept so far this year, it is absolutely time to stop looking at other people's bad behavior around you and think you're attracting it into your life. It is social experiment time, and hopefully you got to do that at Christmas and see people and how they were showing up and stay separate from it, because they're on their own soul's journey as well, and we can't take in anything that they're and owning it as how they're showing up, other than to be curious. Okay, and that's the power of what this demanking is going to bring you, is to clear out anything in your cellular memory that is not in your highest and greatest good, that you're not meant to take from a story point of view into the new year. You are taking a blank slate forward, and it will be, you can have a blank slate as soon as this session is done, or if you need that extra time, you'll want to have everything in place and really zhuzhed for yourself by the 25th of January. Okay, and that's when the energy of this session will close, on the new moon in January, the Chinese New Year. Okay, and I believe we're going into the year of a rat. So if you are a rat, then that's supposed to be an interesting time for you as well. Okay, so let's get started on the energy session. Make sure your feet are firmly or gently on the ground, you are comfortable, you are not going to be interrupted, and I invite you to close your eyes and take some nice deep breaths to allow you to become present in the energy session as we get started. Okay, for those of you who are used to this concept, you'll know that I use the term God when I start asking for the intention to begin, and it's just the term that I use for the all of everything. Okay, alright, here we go. Nice big deep breath in. In God's light, I request that all known and unknown negative images, unhealthy beliefs, destructive cellular memories, and all physical issues associated to every evolutionary that is part of this demanking be found open and healed. I ask that the information be provided in a clear and concise manner that's easy to understand, and I'm specifically shown everything that is no longer in our highest and greatest good, that everything associated to creating a trauma pathway in our cellular memory across the collective whole be brought to the surface to allow it to be swept away. I ask that this information be easy for each individual to be able to connect the dots to, and that they may be willing, ready and able to let it loose and let it free, to find its way back to wherever it needs to go, so that they are free and unencumbered, that we are free and unencumbered to go forward into 2020. Thank you for making today's session 100 times stronger than normal. Alrighty, here comes the exciting bit. Alright, let's ask the collective energy, the greater whole, to walk in. Okay, this is very interesting. Alright, so the greater whole has walked in as a human form, which is good. A couple of things. And it's also a little bit poignant from the fact that I'm Australian. This energy session is being done in Australia, and the collective whole, the greater whole form, human-like but completely coated in what I want to call plates of mud. Now, the way it looks is a dried out dam or lake or creek bed where it's absolutely no water, and the sun has baked and cracked the surface, so it's in plates, big cracks everywhere. So that means we need to look at skin. Unfortunately, this book doesn't cover dehydration, but clinically we know how dangerous it is to not be hydrated. And I wonder as well, I'm going to have to go and have a look at headaches, because my head I've just got like this pressure going across my my forehead right now. So the energy here associated to skin, which again feels very on point, failure to protect or be protected, feeling irritated, angry, frustrated, like someone or something is getting under your skin, disapproval, criticism, invalidation, or even hatred of self, timid, withdrawn, insecure, feeling second best, devalued, uncomfortable in your own skin, feeling like you don't belong, and putting up barriers to guard yourself. Now, if you think about what this year has felt like from your own story, but then also have a look at all of the things that happened around the globe, the natural disasters, the politics, a lot of, because Capricorn or Saturn has had a lot of play this year, and the breaking down of structures, like looking at all of the corruption that's been brought to the surface. Like the amount of it that we saw here in Australia in the banking community, our treating or looking after our elderly. You've got things like Epstein and the corruption in governments. We've got some stuff going on here with our Prime Minister and how he's more aligned with a Pentecostal church than he is to be able to provide funding for our fireys. I don't know if you've been watching, this whole east side of Australia has been on fire for weeks, and it's just been mind-boggling, the hierarchy and how they have been handling it. And one of the biggest parts of that is all associated to integrity. So if you're going through your life, and generally speaking, and I can say with an open heart, 98% of the people that follow this work who are a part of my community all operate from a place of high levels of integrity. It's kind of like you can't exist in this work if you don't. So as somebody or someone like you who operates from a level of integrity, feeling quite exposed. So if you were to think of what a dried out riverbed or a dried out creek or dam or something like that looks like, and having the baking sun on you, you feel exposed, right? So this is the energy that you've walked in at. Good news is that you've walked in. And this is another thing that I love about this community the most. And it's probably one of the hardest, greatest things of any session that I do when I realize what somebody has been through. The fact that they've walked in, not crawled in, not just blooped and landed on the ground, they're still walking. So clinically speaking, what I would like you to do your best with is to make sure that your hydration, and especially at least 3 days after listening to this, with the eclipse energy, I learned that the eclipse energy is actually open for 6 months until the next wave of eclipses come through. So we've got another eclipse on the 10th of January, then there's a big conjunction on the 12th of January, and then that energy goes through. So just make sure you're drinking plenty of water, filtered water if possible, to make sure that your body is hydrated. Now I'm going to go and look at the energy of headaches, because just straight across the top here and into my temples, I feel like I've got a heavy strap on my head now. Headache equals stress, tiredness, seriousness, too much going on, feeling out of control, overwhelmed, overcrowded, frustrated, undermined. I feel like crying all of a sudden, so this is probably tapping into some pretty big keywords for you. Self-criticism, self-sabotage, invalidation of self, judgment of self and others, too much thinking and analysis. And I also want to go and have a look at migraine as well. I haven't had a migraine actually, so I'm not sure what they feel like, but I know that people who have them and it takes them out of the game, they have to go and hide in a dark room and not move essentially. So control, pressure, seriousness, perfectionism, overcommitting yourself, great need for love and approval, ignoring your own needs, putting other people before you, extreme guilt and anxiety, conflict with self and other people, self-punishment, feeling angry and annoyed with others, saying you're giving me a headache. One of the things that I know as well has been quite a pattern, especially the last 6 weeks, I'll say, being really hard on yourself, looking at things and thinking that you know better, thinking that you're, especially when you're doing things and you're thinking that you're breaking patterns, but then all of a sudden they show up again. And it's like, holy crap, why do I keep doing this to myself? So that whole "you're giving me a headache" actually does feel a lot like it's aimed at you, that you're aiming it back at yourself. And it's so important to be try your hardest to be kind, because you can't you just can't afford to live this way anymore. It's false economy, self-defeating. There's no point. Okay, so do your best around that. The other thing, as I was reading that out, the picture in my mind of you walking in coated in these big slabs of mud, the the energy I was hearing or seeing was that there was a misrepresentation or a misunderstanding of how to uh, find your internal beauty, so to speak. Like, all of the ads that you see on TV or on social media where people are putting goop on their face and trying to show how wonderful their skin is after using it, all of those sorts of things. It's kind of like that line where it's like, look after yourself, you need to protect your skin, and for some reason your energy has gone to the biggest, broadest mud bath sort of thing, and then caked it on thinking that that kind of mud is good for your skin, but then all it did was create big barriers and heavy burden, because these plates of mud all over you are probably about an inch thick. So you could imagine walking along and how awkward, and you can't see, you can't. It's just not necessary from that point of view of protect or be protected. Okay. All right. So your energy's now stopped. Let's go in and open the crown chakra, and I'll get all of your energy to go inside the greater whole.